You can spend weeks crafting the perfect presentation, memorizing every data point and anticipating every possible counterargument. But the moment you step into a high-stakes room, all that preparation can evaporate. We obsess over what we are going to say, while entirely ignoring the biological machinery that dictates how we say it. This missing infrastructure of executive presence is known as linguistic EQ. It operates right at the intersection of neuroscience and speech, bridging the gap between our intellect and our actual vocal performance. To understand why we stumble under pressure, we have to look at the brain's circuitry. When you feel threatened, whether by a tough question or a hostile audience, your brain immediately reroutes its processing power. It pulls resources away from the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logical thought. Those resources are dumped straight into the amygdala. This triggers a reactive threat response. Your carefully rehearsed communication techniques are pushed aside as your brain shifts into survival mode. Because of this biological hijack, your own neural circuitry is actively sabotaging your transmission before a single word ever leaves your mouth. The problem compounds because your body relies on the exact same hardware for both breathing and speaking. When the stress response kicks in, your system ruthlessly prioritizes oxygen intake over vocal nuance. This chart illustrates the acoustic leak that follows. A regulated voice produces a smooth, steady waveform, but as your body demands more oxygen, your vocal folds tighten, your pitch rises, and your rate of speech erratically accelerates to squeeze words in between shallow breaths. This physiological strain quickly infects your vocabulary. To buy time for oxygen, speakers unconsciously revert to defensive phrasing and verbal fillers, trading semantic clarity for breathing room. You are now trapped in a disastrous feedback loop. Your physical stress broadcasts uncertainty to the room, instantly elevating the tension of everyone around you. You cannot simply think your way out of this stress response, but you can physically override it. The first layer of defense is hacking your vocal mechanics to artificially slow down your body's autonomic nervous system. It starts with the tactical pause. By enforcing a strict 2-second buffer of silence after a key point, you eliminate the need for filler words like and More importantly, this brief window forces your body to take a deep diaphragmatic breath, stabilizing your heart rate. Next is controlling pitch. During moments of intense conflict, intentionally dropping your voice into a lower register projects a powerful sense of calm and dominance, counteracting the natural tendency for your voice to squeak or thin out under pressure. We can visualize this delivery as a rigid timeline. Instead of rushing, you adopt a metronomic cadence, speaking with a deliberate, rhythmic slowness. Here, pauses aren't placed where commas go. They are placed to force the listener to hang on to every individual word. This slow, low-frequency delivery intentionally strips away conversational warmth. In its place is an impenetrable wall of composure that makes an aggressive, fast-talking counterpart look highly erratic by comparison. Once the physical voice is under control, the second layer of the override protocol is syntactic de-escalation. In tense situations, people default to charged language. These are phrases that assign permanent character flaws or assume hidden motives, like telling someone they are unprofessional or lazy. This instantly triggers a defensive reaction in the listener's brain, shutting down any chance of collaboration. The tactical alternative is neutral language. This requires stripping away the emotion and describing only observable behaviors or facts, without assigning blame or projecting intent. If you tell a colleague, "You always do this," they instantly prepare for a fight. But if you dissolve the accusation and state, "This happened 3 times last month," you give them nothing to defend against except the data itself. Adopting neutral syntax has nothing to do with protecting someone's feelings. It is a calculated method to keep the listener's cognitive load low, ensuring their prefrontal cortex remains engaged and focused on problem solving. To see how critical these physiological and linguistic protocols truly are, we look to the highest stakes imaginable: international hostage negotiation. Elite crisis units, like the French police force's raid team, do not rely on aggressive shouting to resolve standoffs. Instead, their negotiators deploy specifically profiled, highly regulated voices as psychological tools to de-escalate armed suspects. During a kidnapping crisis involving FARC militants in the Colombian jungle, a raid negotiator listened intently to the adversary's nasal, erratic tone. By analyzing those specific acoustic markers, the negotiator could accurately read the captor's psychological volatility and gauge the true threat level to the hostage. This works because of a biological mechanism known as emotional contagion. Human neural networks automatically mirror the acoustic and emotional patterns of the dominant voice in any high-stress environment. Elite negotiators weaponize their regulated tone to biologically force a manic adversary back to composure, deploying vocal control as a direct intervention rather than a delivery system for terms. This exact same tone mirror effect applies directly to the corporate boardroom or a high-stakes client meeting. When a leader maintains an artificial, low-register calm amidst corporate chaos, they act as a neurological anchor. They send out a single, deep pulse that forces the agitated brains around the table to unconsciously synchronize with their steady baseline. This reveals the reality of executive presence. True authority does not belong to the loudest, fastest, or most aggressive person in the room. It belongs to the most neurologically regulated one. By mastering your neuromuscular responses and holding fast to neutral syntax, you insulate yourself against the panic of the moment. You prove that the person who can control their own voice ultimately controls the entire room.